Hello to all you playing along at home. Welcome to another Handyman Dan episode. On today's episode with Handyman Dan, I am showing you a foolproof way to check your front wheel bearings. It's a little bit more involved than some of the other techniques, but kind of if you're not sure if your bearings are borderline, this is a very foolproof way to know if they need to be replaced or not. So I hope you enjoy it. Alright, so for today we're going to be taking off the front tyres. So for that we just need to chock the rear wheels, so make sure you put a good chock under each of the rear wheels. And then once you've finished doing that, you can go ahead and check that the handbrake's on and that the car's in gear. For this, being a rear wheel drive, we want the car in gear, but if it was a front wheel drive and you're looking at the front wheel bearings, you wouldn't want it in gear. And now I'm just setting up the bottle jack. It's just a 4-ton bottle jack. It's way better than the scissor jack that comes with the van originally. Obviously, because we're traveling full time on the road, we can't have a trolley jack or something like that. And now just pulling off the caps for the lug nuts. You can start cracking off the lug nuts. And so I'm just doing them a quarter of a turn, getting them all ready, just getting them loose, as you can't do that when the vehicle's in the air. Then you're ready to jack up the vehicle, so you can start jacking it up, jack it all the way up until the wheel's just off the ground. For us, we can't use axle stands because we just don't have space for them in the van. It's just a luxury we don't have, so I'm just using some bricks and a bit of hardwood. You might be able to hire some from a Kennards or something, or potentially put a shout out on the community page in the kind of town you're in and see if anyone will loan you some. But yeah, this works fine, but it's definitely not preferred. And now you can just finish loosening off all the lug nuts fully and proceeding to take the tyre off. Just get all them undone, and then when you pull the tyre off, make sure to put it under the vehicle just as another safety measure. Just in case the vehicle does fall, that could definitely save you from getting trapped. Alright, now you just want to grab a flat bladed screwdriver and very carefully separate the brake pads from the brake disc just to create a small gap. You're just slowly working the brake pads back, just pressing in the calipers a little bit just to create a small gap. And you can spin the hub a few times just to make sure you'll be able to hear or feel if they're still touching. So you just make that small gap, spin it again to see if they're touching. Now they seem pretty good. As you can see with the arrow, that's the gap that we've created. When it comes to checking the wheel bearings, what you want to do is put a hand on the strut and then spin the hub. And if you're just looking for any vibration, you can feel through your hand that's holding the strut. So once you've done that and you've checked it, then you can put your tyre back on. So yeah, just put all your lug nuts back on, do them up as tight as you kind of can. With the wheel spinning, you won't be able to get it up very tight because the wheel will just try and rotate. Once they're all on, then you can get ready to lower the vehicle. Pull your axle stand or your blocks out. And then lower your jack, just like that. And then you can pull your jack out and get onto the other side. So yep, just taking the caps off for the lug nuts again. And grabbing the breaker bar, just cracking them a quarter of a turn, half a turn, something like that, just so they're loose, but they're not completely off because you don't want to pull the tyre off now. Get the jack set up, start jacking up the vehicle, just again so it's high enough to be able to pull the tyre off. As you can see, there's a little gap between the tyre and the ground. Put your axle stands or your blocks back in, and then take the lug nuts off the rest of the way. And the same thing goes, put the tyre under the vehicle just for some added protection and safety. Same thing with the screwdriver. Create the gap, use the screwdriver just to push the pad back just like that. So then do the same thing, grab the strut, spin the hub, and you're just feeling for any vibration. With both of them, I felt a small amount of vibration. That's enough for me to decide to change them, as we're looking to do a lot of interstate travel now, and we're heading back to South Australia, so we're going to be doing some big Ks, so it's a no-brainer for me. It's just easier to do them because they slightly need to be done. Plus, the van's almost ticked over 200,000 Ks, So the life of a wheel bearing is about 150 to 200,000 K. So ours are pretty much due to be done anyway, and I'd rather do them now before we end up doing some big kilometers. Now you just want to follow all the steps as before to put the tire back on. So yeah, you just put all your lug nuts back on, do them up as tight as you can. Now the next most important thing is to tighten up all the wheel nuts or lug nuts to the right specification. I didn't have a torque wrench for ages, so I just do it kind of as tight as I could with a breaker bar, and I haven't had any issues before. But because I have a torque wrench, it's just a cheap torque wrench, maybe $40, and it does exactly what I need. These for the Transit are 200 Newton meters, and it's definitely great to know that I've put them back on and they're correct. It's also very important, as you see how I do it in a star pattern. So I start with this one, then go to the opposite one, and then go to the opposite one to that, and then go to the opposite. And that way it just tightens the wheel nicely. And a lot of other kind of items that you do on vehicles will recommend doing it in a star kind of pattern. They'll have like a sequence of how they like you to tighten it, so it's just good practice and a good habit to do that. And then just for one final thing, you want to turn your vehicle on, and then when it's running you want to press the brake pedal repetitively just to build back pressure in the brakes, because you move the calipers and brake pads off the rotor. They just need to inch out slowly with the hydraulic pressure, just then they bite again. So you want to wait until the pedal's nice and firm, and then once it's nice and firm, then when you know when you go to drive it next, you'll be able to pull out and you'll hit the brakes, and there'll be actually brakes there. It won't just fall straight to the floor. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a thing or two and it gave you the confidence to check your own wheel bearings. Please subscribe to the channel, as there'll be more videos coming. I'll do a video on how I replace the wheel bearings, just so if that's something you're interested in and something that you want to tackle yourself, I'll kind of give you some tips and tricks on how to do that. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one.